My son loves gaming among so many other things, and today he's getting spoiled. He got his gaming PC at 6 years old. That's almost 1.5 years ago today. He got it from Santa as a Christmas present, and today he's getting an upgrade. See, I finally got my first check from Google, from YouTube, and it was about $106. So I wanted to see how much I could upgrade his setup for $100. But then I started to tell my wife about this project, and she said, well, if we are going to upgrade his setup, then let's do it properly. So we are going to paint the walls and give him a new table and upgrade much more than just the $100. But I am going to tell you how much we spent in total, and maybe that will give you some idea on how to upgrade your setup. Besides creating his dream room setup right here, I'm also giving him a major upgrade inside of his PC, and that's a secret. I just upgraded my hardware in my computer, so I have some leftovers I can put in his computer. And that's one of the cool things about building your own PCs like this. You can always pass down all the gear you don't use anymore. But stay tuned to find out what he's getting. The first thing I need to start with was, of course, clean the room and take all of this computer stuff away, and even dismounting the table from the wall, a table that I built myself previously, and I mounted on the wall so it had no legs that he could bump into. But now it had to be gone so I could use the wood to build something else. After I cleaned the table, I also took out the nails and the maps and the paintings on the wall. Then I did some cleaning and started to prepare for painting the walls. Based on an idea I had and I tried to make in Photoshop, I wanted to make a triangle in blue, the same color as he had on another accent wall. I think it turned out really great. Now a tip here is to make sure that the tape is sealed on great, so that there's no air coming in underneath it. And when you want to paint a part of your wall like this, then make sure to first start by painting it white so that you are closing the gaps underneath the tape. And after that, you can paint on the color you want to. Now, I was so lucky to have my wife help me here because she is so much better at painting than I am. And since it was a project for our son, then she wanted to make sure it was done correct. Now, you might have noticed the light change here is because the paint needs to be applied at least 2 times, maybe even 3 times to be a good quality. And then when you want to peel off the tape, make sure to peel the tape off while the painting is still wet. Now I wanted to make the custom shelving unit for the PC in order to get the PC down from the table, but not to have the PC standing on the ground. And I also wanted to protect the PC from my son just being a child and running around and bouncing around with his chair, not to like hurt the hardware in the computer, to have it last for a longer time. First, I had to cut the parts. It's actually quite funny that this table was already from reclaimed wood from his old room when he was an even smaller child, but now it is put to use for the 3rd time. I started measuring the same height as the Electro and cut it to length with my saw. I sadly don't have any fancy saw to cut it really even, so I had to rely on my old handy hand saw. But it turned out okay, and I put on brackets and I mounted the shelves at both the bottom shelf and the top shelf. The top shelf is actually just to make the legs more stable when it's going to hold the table. But after I went back to the room to see how it would look underneath the table, I noticed that I didn't think that the clear wood would fit as well with the new style of wood on his table, so I figured it had to be painted. Then I took the custom unit in and I sanded it down, and I filled out all the crevices, and I don't even know if the thing I applied here, the putty thing, I don't even know if it's good enough for wood, but hey, I used it and it's working. And then I had my wife help me to paint the drawer, and now it's looking much better. And then it was just a matter of mounting this custom unit as a leg on the table. I made sure to have it flush against the wall so that I could later move out the table and still have it fit perfectly. At first I had no idea how I would mount the LED strip. I wanted it to have the LED visible, so I figured I actually had to modify the hangers because they were not meant to be mounted on the back side as I wanted it. They were meant to be mounted like on a wall with the LED in front. And as you can see, I'm happy that it worked. This is starting to look really good. I wanted to challenge myself in cable management and not mount anything on the wall, and also not have anything hanging underneath. So my idea is to have this cable duct on the backside of the table so that the table would even be cable managed if you took it away from the wall. First I have to do some slight modification to the cable duct, and then it was ready to be mounted. And now I had to put up all of the items and peripherals, monitor and so on that needed to be cable managed. A quick tip here is when you're doing cable management, make sure that everything works before you are doing the management so that you don't have to redo it all. Trust me, that's a mistake you don't want to make. As you can see, it was quite a challenge to have close this cable duct again because I might have mismanaged it when I opened it, but I really think that this ended up being a really cool solution to cable management. And don't worry, I'll get to this part also. Initially, I wasn't going to screw the table down to the Alex drawers, but I found out that it was too wobbly without being fastened to the drawer as well. I thought the custom-made shelf was enough, but seeing that this is something that's going to be handled by a kit, I wanted to make sure that it was safe for everyone to use it. Now everything that was left before the big reveal and the budget breakdown was to hang up some of the purses again to make it more personal and to make it feel like home for my kid. My son loves listening to music on YouTube, and right now he's only able to hear his music directly from the iPad. And when he wants to have a party in his room and dancing around, which is a recurring thing for him and his little sister, then they can only listen to the music on the iPad. I know at $25 this Soul Lion R30 speakers is limited on how great they might be, but as far as I see it, they must be better than a 4 or 5 year old iPad, and I prioritized the RGB on the speaker for party mode. For a keyboard, I chose the Deltaco RGB Mini red switches. I had this keyboard laying around because of some testing I did, and it is by no means any pro gaming keyboard, but in my opinion it performs really good for the price. One of the major wins with this keyboard is that it's very tiny and might be better for his tiny hands. My concern is the lack of arrow keys might be a hindrance in some games, but let's find out. I also have some other keyboards for testing. If this doesn't work out, then I might switch it out for some other keyboard. His old keyboard was noticeably slow and sluggish to use. Not that he actually noticed it, but I really noticed it from trying out his build. For a mouse, he gets the Razer Death Adder V2 Mini, and I found this mouse for only $25. His old mouse had some
some major issues. I don't think the tracking on the mouse is very good, and I think it feels like there is a delay in the input even though it is wired. The mouse I picked is a solid budget option from Razer because I trust the Razer sensors. I also wanted something to be as small as possible, and there's a lot of no-name options out there, but I wanted him to use something that I'm familiar with. I found this as an unboxed product or a demo product, which made it a lot cheaper, and I did not buy this on Amazon. For headset hanger and charger for his headset, I chose something, and this is not needed for all setups, but I wanted this because his headset is just laying around all over the place, and as a 7-year-old I can't really expect him to have a great charging discipline. So a headset hanger with a built-in charging output and RGB for more party mode. I think it was worth spending $15 on, but you can of course choose to put this money either towards a better mouse or a keyboard, or save the money and then you will have a budget of about $100. I'm curious to know what part would you save money on and what parts would you spend the most money on if you were to stick within a $100 budget for your dream room makeover. The table is from IKEA. It is called Mittcirkel and it is about $44 if you translate the price in my country to $2, and the shipping is $29, and you can of course choose to pick up the table itself. Then there is this blue drawer from IKEA. Everybody knows this already. It's called the IKEA Alex. I don't know what the price is in US, but translate from Danish it's $89. But it was used, something I had in my office that I hadn't been using a long time. I think it's just been standing there for 3 or 4 years, and I took this home instead. An RGB strip is about $25. For the table paint and cable management in total it's about $222, but in reality we only paid $73 because the only thing we didn't had already was the Mittcirkel IKEA tabletop. So the by far biggest upgrade he got in his build is the fact that I had a hand-me-down RTX 3060 Ti card to put in his computer. I swapped out his 1650 card, also from Nvidia, to my old 3060 Ti card. I wanted to upgrade my own graphics card, which now gave me the problem that my graphics card is too overpowered for my CPU, but that's another story. This also means that he got my old graphics card and I'm now able to run even some of the newest games. Not by any high settings because of his CPU bottleneck, but he can at least play almost every game on his new setup. For gear in total I spent about $115, but in reality it was only about $65. So the total price of this build is around $335 to $350, but I actually only spent $138 because some of it was used and some of it was hand-me-downs from other setups, and some of them the things we already had.